agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely, we do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, it would have been time a long time ago to eliminate it.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
There's a moon out tonight. Let's go strolling. There's a girl in my heart. Whose heart I've stolen. There's a moon
Back on solid ground here. Missed my live show. Headed to Kansas City. I was in Kansas City since Sunday. Just made it back last night, late flight. Happy to be back. Happy to be back with the listening audience. Was dealing with the anxiety of the Milwaukee, massacre. the Milwaukee situation that's becoming increasingly more, just more frequent. Just this. No, it's like I said months ago, no matter which way it goes, we're going to see more riots. We're going to see more disenfranchised youth that are feeding into everything that this social movement. You can't even really blame it on just the government. But there's a social movement out there that you should get something from someone else. You've been treated unfairly. You've been dealt a bad hand, and you need to take it out on someone. The whole motivation and the whole movement to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and be a stronger, better person, and each day to become a better person, it's lost. It's lost on the years. It's lost on the ears of many in this world. It really is, and that's a sad thing. Yeah, the news is incredible to look at. It's amazing to look at the news. Venezuela publicly destroyed tons of guns, right? Something like 2,000 guns were destroyed publicly in Venezuela, and now they want to register bullets. They've taken about as bad a turn as you could possibly take given their situation. So again, they've decided, and for the people of Venezuela, my heart goes out to you folks, because this is merely the beginning of your terror. I can tell you that right now. If you see an establishment do things like this, destroying guns and putting de facto gun control in place in a time where there is nothing but fear and terror, and the underworld is running the nation, it's a very frightening thing. It's a terrifying thing. It's a terrifying thing, and if I were a father with a family in Venezuela, I don't know what I would do. I would be headed north. I can tell you that much. I guess I would. Would you brave the drug cartels? Would you brave the human trafficking of your daughters and sons and wives to escape the hellhole that is Venezuela? Because why? Because the great and brilliant Hugo Chavez, the one that we should have modeled our nation after, the one who our president loved, the one who so many people in the news outlets were in love with his radical ideas. I really like, a lot can be said about Hugo, but you have to give him credit where credit's due. Yeah. So that nation falls. Goodbye. Peace. Enjoy yourself. And then you have in Germany this insane leader in Germany. I don't know these people. I don't know what these people think of their leader in Germany and how she's still in office, in power. She comes out to tell, as if she's insane. She comes out to tell people that the migrants did not bring terror to her nation. I would like for her to sit down at the table. I would love for her to pull a seat up at the table of one of those girls and girls' families who were raped and molested on New Year's Eve last year in Germany. By who? I don't think it was by the Brussels soccer team. Who molested and raped the girls in Germany and in Brussels over the New Year? Who was it? Wasn't the migrants? Was it some other group of maybe she's got her migrant groups mixed up. Maybe she's thinking of a different group of migrants. Maybe she's thinking, well, these are Somali migrants and they were Syrian refugees, and maybe... I would love to see Merkel sit down with a straight face and talk to the father of one of the girls who was raped by these monsters who have no idea what it is to be a woman in Western civilization. I mean, can you wrap your head around that thought for a moment? Just wrap your head around that. We're dealing with people who have no idea what a Western woman is. They have no idea what a woman with freedom is. So she comes out and she says, yes, no terror was brought here by the migrants. Islam belongs in Germany. And then she goes on to, threaten to ban the far-right party, naturally. The real villains. The real monsters. The villains of the far right. It's a scary time. It's a time to prepare, folks. It really is. In America, it really is. In America, when you see something like Milwaukee that exploded, right? It absolutely exploded before anything came out. We're at that point where it's the hair trigger, where it's the knee-jerk riot, where it's someone was killed, it's time to burn. Let's hurt white people. I mean, if you heard the sound, and maybe I'll get the sound for you, but it's a terrifying thing. When you see how quickly this community devolved into the most base hatred, right? The most base hatred where they were shouting. Cars were driving by on the intersection and they were shouting, "Is he white? Is he white?" And they were hurting people who were white simply because of the pigment of their skin. That's an amazing thing. And I'm supposed to feel sorry for my skin color and my quote-unquote privilege. Explain to me how this happens and how this works. Explain to me how this works in a sane world. But this is America. And it's not going to go away. If Donald Trump wins, people are going to be scared. They're going to be backed into a corner. There's going to be, and a lot of people in that population, the minority populations, are going to be scared and backed into a corner unless they can reason and they understand, okay, look, this guy's not coming to put us in death camps, despite what CNN tells us. But no, it's going to be that same rhetoric coming from the left, whether they're in power or not. It's going to be the big, scary, mean, rich, successful white person has come to trounce you. He's come to trounce you, and that's what America is about. It's about oppression, right? It's about oppression. Well, find me a place better on the planet where you'll have a better chance of success than my country. Find me another nation. It's not going to get better if Hillary gets elected either. I think we all know that. We all know that. No matter which one of these, whatever they are. I mean, what are they really? They're very unique in and of themselves. You can't really categorize them together because they're each very unique in their faults. Yeah, they're each very unique in their faults. It's a good thought. But you need to prepare for riots. You need to prepare for mass shootings and active shooter events. This is very important. This is very important. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way finished the mass shooting book right now. And like I said, this is not going to be a book. This is not going to be a sit down and read it for 6 months book. What I should be calling it is a manual, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a manual for preparedness. I haven't even decided if I'm going to do it in hardback or not, or paperback rather. I may just do it as an ebook. It may just be a complete and total ebook, and maybe I'll make it available for paperback, but not promote it for the real fans of I Am Liberty out there, the folks who have all my books, the folks who love reading my books and having them on the shelf and telling people about the show and the gold, right? The very limited nuggets of gold out there in the listening audience that make the show what it is. Thank you very much. But I'm about 3/4 of the way from finishing that book, and my fiction books are very important to me, right? They're my ideas laid out, spread out, spat out on paper, come to life in your eyes and in your mind. But this is a book of necessity. You know what I mean? This is a book of necessity that comes from experience in a professional workplace, and I can take levels of my experience and expound on it and give it to you in a written form, and I would highly recommend. I'm thinking an October date for release. I would highly recommend you set some limited funds. We're not talking about an expensive book either. You know, this book may be 15, 20 pages, 25 pages max 25 pages. Because I'm not interested in word count. I'm not interested in awards. I'm not interested in publishing companies with this book. This is merely a manual for those I love, for those I care about, for those I appreciate, and for those out there who want to be prepared for an active shooter scenario in the best and most practical way they can in the public, at work, and those types of things. You know, it talks a lot about the concepts of cover and concealment. It talks a lot about the concepts of run, hide, and fight. Concepts are covered in this book about physical fitness. Concepts are covered about, understanding a room, reading a room when you walk into a room. These are very important concepts to understand when you're managing risk in a situation. And these are important things. Not only are these important things, but I think these are necessary things in America today. Honestly, I believe that this training is how you negate terrorism. In the same way that this is how you negate any other disaster, right? Strong preparation. We can't stop it. You can't stop lightning and thunder and high winds. You can't stop hurricanes. And I don't know that we can stop the acts of terror. I don't know that we can stop it entirely. Honestly, people say stupid things. We can nuke the Middle East. We can bomb ISIS out of this century. We can... I do believe that with every death, a terrorist is inspired. I do believe that. That doesn't mean I don't think we should kill him. But I believe that it's an ongoing issue, and I don't think it'll stop anytime soon. I really don't. I think that bridges between Islam and other minority groups in America are going to take hold, and things are going to get even more ugly. I do believe that. I believe that this hatred towards the white man it's going to grow, because it's easy to have success when you're behind a common enemy, right? When you're up against a common enemy, it's very easy to have success. Not easy, but it makes the rebellion, the revolution, that much more appealing, and it makes it easier to set your sights and drive your forces. You look back at 1776 when America was forming. You know what I mean? We had that common enemy. World War II. Another great time of unity in the country. So, that said, this training to me is very important, and I hope it's as important to you. Again, it will be very affordable. It's just one of those things that I believe can negate some of the horror that we're dealing with. I believe if many Americans know how to react and know how to put themselves in good situations through training, then we can see a reduction in what these mass shootings, yield. And in my opinion, if people are trained and people are prepared, less people die. And you know what happens? Then the idea of the active shooter, the idea of the mass shooting, becomes less appealing to the person who is doing the shooting. If we get this thing fine-tuned and the American population understands what the risk is and what they can do to prevent it, then I think we negate the shooter. In a way. In a way. So I feel like I've given you a decent opening, right? I've given you some of the reality of today. I've given you some of the ways we can prevent some of the reality of today. And really, I'm interested in what is on your mind out there, and what people are doing to prepare, and what people are thinking about to prepare. That's something that I am interested in. You know, I feel out of place because I didn't do the live show Wednesday, right? And having not done the live show Wednesday, I didn't get to talk directly to my listeners in the live chat room. And I like that. You know what I mean? I get a good sense of the world through that. It's a rare thing, you know. You don't get a chance to talk directly to listeners like that very often. And the good thing about the chat room is a lot of times it's, it's regulars, of course, but then you have some stragglers that come in. We often have, people who we have no idea who they are. They come in completely anonymous with a fake name, and they can spill beans that way. And I like that. If that's what it takes for a person to open their heart, then I can get behind it. The importance, though, is preparedness at this point. Like if you don't have solid plans for these things, you're going to be taken by surprise. It only takes one pull of a trigger nowadays for your city to go up in flames. And I don't know if that's just not the right message. It's not the right message. It's not the right way to handle this situation. Do we really want the police afraid to do their job? Do we really want the police afraid to do their job? Is the question. But I digress. All right, I digress. I do have another story in mind about an Indian man, a swami. He claims to be 121 years old, and he says that his longevity, you'll like this one. He says his longevity was based on a bland diet, very strict self-discipline, yoga, and celibacy. Celibacy. In other words, no sex for you out there. Now, this isn't the first claim I've heard about celibacy and health, though science tends to point towards, especially in men, the advantages of sex and regular sex and healthy sex in life, right? The promotion of the testosterone that is created during sex, you know what I mean, and after. And it's just an interesting thought. I don't know, the guy doesn't look 120. If you look at the story was on, what was it on? I can't remember. Look it up on the internet, Google it. 120-year-old swami from India, longevity secrets. But one of his big claims was to celibacy, and that's an interesting one. There are a lot of guys out there who are not celibate by choice, but are partaking in the longevity, the apparent longevity benefits of celibacy. I've seen quite a few of those guys in my trip to Kansas City. You see those guys out there, and you just know it's over for them. You know what I mean? You see, they're often pasty white guys with greasy haircuts. The hair it's thinning. It doesn't look. And you see these guys, and they look like they've almost forfeited. Like they forfeited 10 years ago the idea that they'd ever be intimate again. And they've, taken up strange hobbies or spend their time championing something that kind of separates them from what it means to be male and the things that they're lacking. Nothing against them. Nothing against them. I guess it is what it is. At some point in life, that's natural selection in a way. But I look at that and I see a claim like that about celibacy. Okay, celibacy and the increase of life. And we deal with a lot of this contrarian science, right? This it's not even really science. It's just kind of wellness tips to the contrary of what science is saying. Science is saying that sex on a regular basis is especially good for men, good for women, release, an absolute stress destroyer. Stress is a killer, we know that. It's a part of natural life, but it's a killer. And I wonder about the guy's motivation. How do you get into that situation in life is what I wonder. You know, do you get into that situation in life where you decide, you know what? Celibacy. That's the way to go. Honey, we need to have a talk. And of course, then your wife thinks you're cheating, right? Any American wife who's approached by her husband about celibacy, she would automatically assume that he was cheating. I would have to imagine, right? And if she was convinced, and if the man was truthful, and very serious about taking on a vow of celibacy to live longer together and to be in love longer, I have to imagine that in her quiet moments, the woman would probably be celebrating her celibacy, knowing that she wouldn't have to deal with this animal climbing on top of her on a regular basis. But such is life, right? I look at an article like that and I wonder to myself, celibacy, huh? You never know what's coming. You never know what's coming, but I'll tell you what. From the standpoint of James Walton with I Am Liberty, God, you can come take me. You can come take me at your leisure because I can't put celibacy in any of my future plans. Promotion day. Good grief. Promotion day. Amidst the horror, you know, life still goes on. We're dealing with these situations all over the country. God only knows what's going to happen in the next 6 months. Can you imagine if you had to write a story about America in the next 6 months and be as close to the truth as possible? I mean, I feel like it would read like a sci-fi thriller. But yes, today is promotion day in my little world. In my four walls, right? We talk about the four walls and spending time in the four walls and what that means, right? Your four walls are your home. And there's a world outside of those four walls, but there's also a very important world inside of those four walls where you better make sure that the people within your four walls are prepared for what's outside. And just a little peek into my four walls, it's a big day for me. Okay, my son, we haven't talked about martial arts in a long time on I Am Liberty, have we? No, we have not. It's a big part of our lives. It really is. It has become an even bigger part of our lives within Casa Liberty because my son has been involved for over a year now. So when my son turned 4 years old, probably a little too young, I started bringing him to the MMA Institute where I go to train, right? I started to bring him there. I didn't know how he would like the striking. You know, at 4 years old, it was really just kind of having an activity, and I knew it would be something that he would blossom into because he's a violent little character. And I mean, whatever. You could take that how you want. I don't really care what you think about my son. But a year later, he's older. He's 5 now, and I mean, he's 5. So let's keep it in context. But I mean, the kid understands the concepts. You know what I mean? He understands the concepts. His punches are crisp. He can throw combinations. His footwork is good. I mean, I'm not talking about evasive maneuver footwork, but I'm talking about his ability to, move in and do a jab and move out. His ability to step in and step out properly, quickly, sliding the front foot, sliding the back foot. His ability to do those things and then land a combination and get out, for a 5-year-old kid, are impressive. To me, it's very impressive. So I've seen him over the last year progress in a big way, and today he'll be promoted for that. Every so often they hold promotions, and sometimes he gets promoted, sometimes he doesn't. I have no doubts that today will be a promotion day for Carter. And it's a big deal for us. We'll go out and get some ice cream or something along those lines. It's a challenge, and we don't challenge our kids enough. We put our kid, no offense to team sports, right? Team sports teach you a lot about life. right? The one big thing that I've learned about team sports, because I never played them, they really teach you how to lose. They teach you how to lose. I just don't like the idea of losing because of another person, losing because of a teammate. I never liked that idea. And that, and I also didn't like the idea that I could throw the game for other people who worked hard. Which is why I like doing jiu-jitsu, why I like doing Muay Thai, why I like doing these things, why I like throwing the kettlebell around. Because it's me. It's just me doing what I do, getting better, progressing. When I get choked out, well, I don't ever get choked out, but whenever I tap on the mat or whenever someone catches me with something good when we're sparring in Muay Thai, it's on me, right? I'm probably not focused. I'm probably not paying attention. The guy's more athletic than me. A million different reasons why you get caught. It's not the end of the world, and it's a good learning experience. But it's interesting because we see kids run from event to event to event, right? They go to swimming and the soccer and the baseball and the ballet, and you see them go to these things, and something about martial arts is just such a development that happens. I mean, my son has developed in many ways because of education, but I think a lot has to do with his ability to absorb what he's doing and understand the consequences of what he's doing a little more clearly. If you don't put this hand up, you will get hit. And I mean, it's 5-year-olds hitting 5-year-olds, so they're not uncorking on each other or anything like that, but it's a very good lesson to understand how your actions or reactions affect your world around you, and it's just one of those things, And so, being a father of boys, when you have these moments in life, these nights, like the one that's coming my way in a few hours, when you get to see the wife proud, you get to see the child happy and proud, and you get to sit back and enjoy these things. I would recommend, especially if you have a child who has the energy. These poor kids nowadays, these poor boys who are gifted with stamina, they're gifted with this unbeatable endurance. A lot of them are put into football and things like that. They smash their brains in and they become a head case. And a hyper head case at that. You know what I mean? You have to get these kids in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, my son is very new to jiu-jitsu. He just started doing it it's week before he turned 5. It's a little more technical. It requires a little more thinking, and I don't think he was ready for that at that time. So here we have him in the jiu-jitsu world now as well. So you use that endurance, but you also are sharpening the mind, man. You're sharpening the brain in ways that are unbelievable. And I implore you, if you got the kid in soccer and he's not doing good, you got the kid in baseball and he's not having a good time, you've got all these things going on. I'm telling you, put that child in jiu-jitsu. Find a local gym, put him in jiu-jitsu. It doesn't have to be the best. You don't have to look for the Gracies. Put him in jiu-jitsu. Let him excel. He's going to excel. He or she will excel. If you have one of those teachers calling you up, telling you, they can't sit still, they're always moving around. At the end of the day, kids are looking for all the same things that we're looking for. They're looking for that affirmation that they're good, that they're good at something. You know what I mean? That they can excel at something. That's what they're looking for. And you can't be upset about that. I mean, you just because what they like and the things that they do, just because they don't fit inside of the mold of the baseball field, or they don't fit inside the mold of the basketball court, maybe that doesn't mean that child is not athletic. That doesn't mean that child is not into sports, that he's not, you know what I mean? All my life I've been labeled as such. Because I didn't like hitting balls with bats, because I didn't like kicking balls or throwing balls, somehow or another that and the ability to do that stuff just kind of dictated what society thought I was and wasn't. Right? Okay, I'm not athletic because I can't throw a ball. I'm not athletic because I can't hit a ball. I'm not athletic because I can't whatever, hit a puck, skate on the ice. Until you get yourself into a scenario where you're passionate about something. And that's when you find out what you are. You know what I mean? You should never base what you are on the things that you can't do. When you're trying to find out what you are, that has to be based on the things that you can do and you do well. You know what I mean? There's a level of explosion that I just never really tapped into because I had no reason to explode out of somebody's guard. I never had a reason to explode into a clinch. You know what I mean? We're so quick to define things by these old, ancient metrics, right? You know, what is an athlete? What is and I'm telling you, don't. What I really am getting at is don't feel sorry for me. I could care less. I had a lot of fun in my youth. I didn't play sports. What I did is I wrote songs, and I had a whole lot of fun. You know what I mean? There was very rare a time in my life that I wasn't having a good time. But what I will say is the following. Don't let your kids fall into this crazy category game, right? This crazy heading and subheading game where they're defined by those things that they can't do. Right? Your child should never, no person should be defined by the things they can't do. They should definitely be defined by what it is they can do and what they do well. And the idea that someone who is of that age, right, 10 and under, and they don't want to stand out in the outfield and wait for a ball to come at them. You have to understand that there's some games and there's some activities in the world that are simply too slow for some children. Right? It's just too slow. When you have a mind that exists on 75% in the subconscious. That's me. That's what I was as a child. I can see that in my son. That's what it is. He's always on another planet, in a battle, doing something. The imagination is always on. And to take a mind like that and tell them to run up and down this field and not give them any real reason why, you know what I mean? You're going to run up and down this field, and then you're going to take this ball and you're going to put it on this side of the field, and everybody's going to get happy. Well, no, that's cool, but is the child doing it happy? It's very important how we define our kids, man, and what they can and can't do, and giving them real options. Give your kids real options. That's where my success has come thus far. You also have to be really comfortable with what they like. And not be afraid of what your mother or your sister or your mother-in-law or your father... You can't be worried about what other people are going to say about what your children like. You know what I mean? That's the thing. So long as it's not hurting them and they're not hurting others, if there's a passion there, you have to stoke that. Again, you can't define your kid by what he doesn't do. You have to define him by what he does do. And what he does well, he or she does well. This is very important. You have to understand this. This is a momentous thing here. This is what, people are always buying books and, audio books and things about success and how people are successful. And this is a $1 million tip I'm giving you right here. It's how to define your child. It's a big one. This show would not be possible if my parents didn't nurture my ADHD. If my parents put me on Ritalin, there would never be anything like I Am Liberty. No, there would be nothing like it. You wouldn't be able to get the show. It wouldn't exist. I'd be a zombie somewhere. There's no way I could get on the show and talk about, in 30 minutes, I've touched on probably 20 topics. In 30 minutes, I've touched on almost 20 topics, I'm sure, right? We started out the show with the trip to Kansas City. We moved into Merkel. We moved into Venezuela. Then we talked about preparing. Then we talked about the Bug Out Challenge. Then we talked about how many other things. We wound up on celibacy and sex, and now we're talking about Muay Thai and promotion and what children need. When you nurture what your children are good at and what they're passionate about, I mean, that's the key to this thing. That's the key to this thing, and not being afraid about what other people are going to say. What kind of things they're going to come up with and what kind of chatter they're going to have about your kid or how you're raising your children. And it's a beautiful day here in Richmond. And it's going to be a beautiful evening here in Richmond because my son's going to get his band tonight. You know, and on promotion day, they have a bunch of fun. They play dodgeball, they play games, they have a good time. I actually have been out of MMA for 4 months now. I took a 4-month break. What happened, my wife, she came off the pregnancy thing. And I said, you know, she was dying to get out and play sports. She is a sport player. She is a serious ball and bat athlete. And she was dying. You know what I mean? I could see it in her eye. She was dying. So I said, let me take some time off, save some money. It's not cheap. And let her have some fun. Once the baby gets big enough, I'll go back. So next month, on the 15th, I'll be back. And I'm interested to see what kind of shape I'll be in, how I'll be able to fare on the mat with the guys who never left. You know, what's my endurance going to look like? I work out and I keep myself in good shape, but, you know, jiu-jitsu shape is so different. Jiu-jitsu shape and being able to, you know, be a warrior in the gym are such a different level. It's such a different thing. You know, you can run 3 miles and do pull-ups and bench press and sit-ups and, you know, all that stuff. You get on the mat in about 2 minutes, 15 seconds of a 3-minute round, and you're looking at your soul, man. You are staring your soul in the eyes and just going, oh my God, am I going to make it through these next 45 seconds without getting stopped? You know what I mean? Because just dealing with the sheer, you know, stamina that it takes to keep someone off of you, let alone giving your brain enough energy to be like, oh God, here comes that arm. Well, look out for that. He's got a hold of my collar, this thing, that thing. I can tell you right now, if you want to get a better understanding of life and death, get a better understanding of combat, get a better understanding of what it means to be a good person and not a weak person. And by weak, I don't mean strength, I mean mental. Take jiu-jitsu, man. Put some money aside, take a jiu-jitsu class. Find out what happens when you lose 30 times in a row. You know what I mean? Find out how you react. How does your body react? How does your mind react? And I can guarantee you, even if you go in there and you take it slow and you know you're not in the best shape, get in there, take it slow. They'll probably pair you up with someone who could take it slow as well. You're going to see fitness benefits. You know, you're going to see gains and benefits. And, yeah, it's an exciting thing. It's a very exciting thing.